Hey everyone, we're going to do something that we don't do very often. We're going to watch a trial. Over the next couple days, you can hang out with me every afternoon and watch a little bit of this, from the news coverage all the way to the verdict and the post-verdict reaction. So what's this trial about? Let's see.
Good evening. I'm News 6 anchor Lisa Bell, and we interrupt your programming to bring you breaking news of an officer-involved shooting.
Yeah, I'm Matt Austin. A Daytona Beach police officer we know has been shot. Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood confirms to News 6 that officer is being rushed into surgery right now at Halifax House.
Now, this has already happened, so if you want to be one of those people, you can go find the answer in the news, but please don't spoil it for everybody else. Some people like surprises. Some people do. So let's jump right in. This is Officer Jason Raynor with the Daytona Beach Police Department. That's a mouthful. He is 26 years old. He was patrolling in the area of Kingston Street, I believe, when he came upon 29-year-old Othal Wallace, who was sitting in his car. Raynor approached Wallace, asked him what was going on. What are you doing? And Othal shot Raynor. Let me show you the area. For those of you who aren't familiar with Florida, most of you know Daytona Beach used to be the spring break capital of the world before it moved to like Panama City, and then now I think it's in Mexico. But everybody used to come to Daytona for spring break. Now it's more like biker week and things like that. So Daytona is over on Florida's east coast, kind of, I don't know, 2/3 of the way up the state on the coast. But if you zoom in, you can see there's kind of a barrier island for Daytona. Now, everything that's popular, touristy, crazy that happens in Daytona happens on that island, between the intercoastal and the Atlantic Ocean. That's where all the fancy hotels, the parties, everything is. When you come inland, that's where real life is. So let's zoom in a little bit. And where this incident happened is on Kingston Street, which was, I believe, just right around Beach Street, south of Mason. And if you look at the street map, you can see there's a big empty lot on one side of the road. And this is going to be, I believe, the north side of the road. And if you go, what direction would that be? I think that would be, no, so that would be the I don't know. Okay, that would be the south side of the road. If that's south, then if you're going west down that road, I'm so bad with directions. If you go south down that road, then there's a couple kind of rundown apartment complexes, and you go past that and there's houses, but the houses there are incredibly old. Daytona Beach itself, that area had very old houses there, and those houses were torn down and the huge hotels or mansions were built. If you travel down the coast or the intercoastal, even down all the way to Miami, anywhere on the Florida coastline, you see these huge, elaborate mansions. And then next to it, you'll see this tiny, tiny little Florida cracker house. And cracker is not a negative word. That's the style of house that it was back then. It's kind of a 1950s style house. And it's just this tiny little bungalow right there on the ocean. And then next to it, another high-rise hotel or a mansion or whatever. And that's just people who are unwilling to sell because they've had their house for so many years and they want to hold on to it. So there's lots of older houses when you get close to the water because the property value is so high, and some people just, they want to be close to the water and they know they can't replicate what they have. Okay, now let's look at the other side of the road, and there's some kind of building. And then right across the other side of this intersection is a couple other buildings that are businesses, some kind of plumbing, I think, or something else. So this is the right around the area that the incident occurred in. After it happened, Mr. Wallace took off, and there was a manhunt for him for several days. And that is all the background information I'm going to give you to get this started, because I'm going to let the news coverage speak for itself. Now, before we go any further, I want to let you know that we are going to play the body cam footage of the actual incident. The body cam footage does show the entire incident. However, if you can imagine where the body cam is located, it is showing away from the officer, so you're not able to see graphically what happens to the officer. There was only one officer on scene, but you are able to see Mr. Wallace's actions towards the officer, and you are able to hear the gunshot. So I will let you know when that comes up if you would prefer not to watch that.
We're also following a developing story out of Daytona Beach. That's where a manhunt now underway after a police officer was shot in the head while investigating a suspicious incident. This is the man they're looking for. He's identified as 29-year-old Othal Wallace. There's now a $100,000 reward leading to his capture. Investigators say Wallace is armed and dangerous.
Within hours after this incident occurred, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office released the full body cam video of Officer Raynor being shot. And news organizations didn't know what to do. Usually, the sheriff's office edits the body cam to what the news organizations would be releasing. It's not ordinarily up to the news organizations to edit out the scary part. So they kind of panicked and didn't know. So they released a redacted version of it and did not include that part of the incident. And then they looked around, and these, how do you say, less scrupulous organizations, lots of online bloggers, things like that, got a hold of it because the sheriff's office released it on their YouTube page. We're releasing the whole thing, and they realize, okay, well, people are watching that and not us because they want to see the whole thing. What do we do? And a huge discussion ensued on, do we release the whole thing or not? Is that right? Is it not? And they actually consulted other law enforcement officials, and I thought this gentleman's explanation on why they chose to release the whole thing was excellent. This is one of the news organizations explaining their decision to release the entire body cam footage because it can be portrayed as highly insensitive to the officer's family. I mean, who wants to see your loved one getting shot? And yeah, you understand that. And just so you know, every single news clip that I have put in this video, I have only put a short piece of each clip. The entire clip is available down in the description. Go down there, check it out, watch the whole clip, learn about the case if you'd like.
Video is tragic. You know, it shows something that we don't see really much ever.
News 6 initially stopped the video just before the officer is shot, but we strive for transparency, so it sparked a discussion in our newsroom.
Do you believe the public should see that video in its entirety?
Yes.
Why?
Over the past year, we have seen so many law enforcement encounters that have kind of motivated for reform, and those videos were graphic. And this is the stuff that as a cop, you fear. And I think showing something like this to the community can create a mutual respect.
Whenever there is video like this, my concern is always the family of the officers, the family seeing this video over and over again.
I know that my family, if this was me, would want that out there.
Okay, I told you I'd warn you. This is the body cam footage that I am going to play. If you don't want to watch it, skip forward 3.5 minutes. That's how long the body cam footage is. It's the entire footage, 3.5 minutes if you don't want to watch it. Again, it doesn't show anything graphic, but you do hear the gunshot.
Where at? Daytona?
Yeah, we need you back there, 133.
Just listen. Okay.
Have you ever shot anybody?
No.
Have you ever been shot at?
No.
Listen, very carefully.
Mhm.
This could end in a bad situation if we find this guy.
Hey guys.
Have you all seen someone like running really hard? Well, somebody just shot a cop in the head. So y'all need to go inside if you can.
Yeah. No problem.
Alright, who's rolling, K9? 5-7, where you at? Corner of Kingston and Beach, and give me at least one more. We're gonna go with the mini team. K9 to 7, sure, I'll go with you.
Stay out of the way.
Hey, young Cal. Young Cal. Young Cal.
Location 133 Kingston Avenue.
Hey, Brady? Yeah. I'm gonna lock the drone. Where do you want to lock? Right here. In the road? Yep.
Yes, sir. Hey, we had nothing east or north. We have a yellow shirt one. We have an orange shirt,
I'm in custody. Get up! Get the fuck up! Did we clear the car? Yeah, we cleared. Get up!
Hey, that's not the vehicle. That is not the vehicle. Yeah. What is this speaker
I want you to take all 3 Lake Mary guys. All right. And I want you to go to LPGA and 95, both ramps. Anybody getting on the interstate, I want to know who's in the car. If you engage this car, pursuit is authorized. No questions asked.
News stations across the state immediately picked up the story, and viewers were enthralled. They waited patiently for this fugitive to be caught and prayed for this officer to pull through.
Developing right now, a manhunt is underway in Volusia County after a Daytona Beach police officer was shot in the head overnight. The U.S. Marshals have now joined the more than 500 officers combing that area.
The 26-year-old officer, who has not yet been named, is in the hospital in critical condition. The 3-year veteran had surgery last night, and the Daytona Beach police chief says he is improving, but, quote, still has a long way to go.
Daytona Beach police say they are working a couple of leads. They haven't given us too much information on those, but they have told us that with the help of other local and federal agencies, they have expanded the search to find Wallace. Now, in the meantime, Officer Raynor is still in critical condition here at Halifax Health. Last we heard, he underwent surgery, which was successful, and he was showing some improvements. We're told he's only 26 years old and has been with the department for less than 3 years. Now, he's fighting for his life with his family by his side and with an outpouring of support from his colleagues.
Once the name of the suspect was released, everybody wanted to know about him, and the news stations were quick to dig up his criminal history.
Megan, thank you. Othal Wallace is no stranger to Volusia County authorities. According to their records, he's been arrested 9 times over the last 9 years. These are some of his mugshots over the years.
So while that station showed you an array of mugshots, it didn't really give you any background information on what they were for. I mean, he could have been arrested for traffic offenses for all we know. So I did a little digging to see what exactly was going on. And this is what comes up when you search his name in the Volusia County Clerk's office. As you can see, there's a lot going on there. The first one that says Florida Department of Revenue is a child support case. This second one, first-degree murder of a law enforcement, is the case we're talking about. Third, Florida Department of Revenue is another child support case. Then we have domestic battery. And if you look over to, let's see, the right, not all of these were charged. There was some of them that were not prosecuted. So let's look at that at the same time. So domestic battery, no plea entered, notice completion. So that one, it looks like was still in process and was not finished. Aggravated battery on a pregnant person, burglary of an occupied dwelling, and criminal mischief. Trying to see. Reduced. So he took a plea deal on that one. Battery. And there's no information, so the charges may have been dropped on that one. Driver's license not carried. That's not really that big of a deal. Trespass, improper exhibition of a dangerous weapon, carrying a concealed weapon, no contest, rearrest, violation of probation, so he probably got an extended sentence on that. Driving while license canceled, suspended, or revoked, ran a stop sign, obstructed officer without violence, no contest, no plea entered, no contest. The one case was dismissed, adjudication withheld, and a violation of probation on that third count. Driving while license suspended, speeding. He pled guilty on one, no contest on the other. These are driving offenses, driving offenses, driving offenses, driving offenses. Yeah, so it looks like he started off being a really bad driver and kind of escalated to beating up a pregnant woman to murder. It's kind of an interesting progression of things. So this is the timeline of things. It started in, I guess he's going to jump all over the place. 2014, 19, 13, 13, 13, 13, 12, 13, 21, and 17. 21 is when he was arrested for this. And then the news organization noted that he had counts in other counties, so I looked those up to see what was going on. So over in Broward County, he had 2 cases of domestic violence back in 2018. Over in Seminole County, he had an out-of-county warrant, so they arrested him and brought him back to either Broward or Volusia. And then if we go to Brevard County, he was arrested for battery dating violence in 2019 in the Cocoa Beach Police Department. So quite a bit in a very short period of time. He was escalating, I think is what they call that.
The entire community, not just this community, but the entire state. The resources have been pouring in. My phone has not stopped ringing with just support from not just law enforcement, but just local businesses. Just anything we need, we've got it. And thank you almost doesn't seem adequate just to express the gratitude that I feel for the outpouring of support. The folks standing to my right and my left are also huge. They've been huge as far as their support in our mayor, Derrick Henry, and our state attorney, R.J. Larissa. So in just a few moments, I'm going to step aside as they both would like to make a statement. But again, there's really no real change in the officer's status. He's fighting, and we all are praying. And again, I'm thankful for the medical staff, because I truly believe he's receiving the best care that he could possibly receive. He's got a long road ahead of him to recovery, but we're all believing that, you know, God can move mountains, and if it's his will, it will be. So at this time, I'm just going to step aside, and I'm going to let Mayor Henry say a few words.
Thank you, Chief. And I just wanted to make a statement on behalf of the City Commission, two of whom are here with us today, Commissioner Reed and Commissioner Cantu, as well as our City Manager's office. The reality is that we as a community are facing what we can't acknowledge as anything other than a nightmare. You know, we go to sleep at night with the best protection, the greatest law enforcement agency, I believe, in America, looking after us. And then this has transpired. And to have been there and to watch the passion and compassion and the love of our beloved officers' brothers and sisters, because that is what our police department is. It is truly an agency that is based on principles that are associated with family. And for us as a community, we are prostrate right now. We just had a prayer vigil that many of you were a part of. And we are a community that's littered with a variety of beliefs, but we are believers. We believe in our law enforcement community. We support them. And what we ask at this time is that this community would continue to pour yourselves out to protect our law enforcement family with your armor of love and affection and your prayers, because they are needed. I want to express our sincere gratitude for the leadership of Chief Young. It's difficult when you preside over an agency and this happens, and so it takes courage, and it takes, and you know, everyone standing in his gap and holding his back, and we as a community are going to do all that we can now and moving forward to let you and the agency know, and everyone associated with your work, that we're behind you, and as we try to see justice come to light. Because we know that we want this suspect to be apprehended, and we want him to be apprehended quickly. But we want to make certain that everyone keep your eyes open, share the correspondence that you've seen in terms of his images, and if you see anything that looks like him or moves like him or breathes like him, please make the call. Because that is an important part of the process that we are undergoing. And so at this time, I would like to pass the mic on to our state attorney, Mr. R.J. Larizza.
Good afternoon. On behalf of myself personally, as well as all of the folks at the state attorney's office, I'd like to let the family know that our thoughts and prayers are with them. What a difficult nightmare that they're going through, having to endure, not knowing how this is going to turn out. The suspect at large and all the media coverage, it's a nightmare that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemies. So my heart especially goes out to them, and also to all our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, especially at the Daytona Beach Police Department. You know, we work together every day. In fact, one of our prosecutors was doing trial prep with the Officer Raynor, earlier in the day. and then got the news of what happened that evening. And you know, it just goes to show how fast, how quickly life can change. I'd like to also let you know that we have our best resources, our best prosecutors, our best investigators working with Chief Young and his excellent crew of law enforcement officers, because we all have the same goal. That is to apprehend the suspect and to make justice happen. You know, folks throw that word out a lot. The word justice is said by a lot of folks, and frankly, I don't think a lot of them really know what it means. But justice in this case means accountability. It means holding the person responsible and accountable that did this. And with the help of the law enforcement community and our team of prosecutors, investigators, that's exactly what we intend to do. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind everybody, you all already have the suspect information for Othal Wallace, but I just want to remind everybody that there is a $100,000 reward for information that leads to his arrest. Again, a $100,000 reward for information that leads to his arrest. I do not want to get into any potential leads on this suspect. That would be counterproductive for us to do so. So please don't ask. I can tell you that we got a lot of resources out there, and I'm hopeful. I will tell you that much. And you know, I'm gonna say something to you guys that you probably don't hear very often in your field, especially dealing with us, and that's thank you, because this coverage that this is getting is crucial. This is a very, very important part of getting this guy into custody, getting this suspect into custody. So I thank you guys for all being here today and covering this as heavily as you are and pumping this out to make sure anybody in there should be nobody in Central Florida, in the state in general, that doesn't know who we're looking for. So I thank you, and at this time I'll open it up for a few questions. I know one thing you guys are probably going to ask for is the officer's photo, and I'm going to have the PIO. We're not going to do that? Okay, we're not going to do that. But you guys have his name and his information.
Chief,
thank you, Deputy Chief.
Chief, the suspect posted what appears to be a message on Instagram saying some strong words toward law enforcement. Is that part of your investigation? Have you all seen that?
I can tell you we are monitoring all social media. So there's nothing that's been posted that we haven't seen. And that.
Chief, one other question related to that is there's a Facebook page for somebody named Othal Wallace.
Right.
Is he one and the same? Is that the same person?
I can tell you we've seen that and we're monitoring that. Again, all of this falls under investigative leads, so it would be counterproductive for me to stand up here and confirm that. Once he's in custody, if you want me to confirm it, I'll confirm it at that point in time.
Chief, I have a quick question. When you were kind of talking about our coverage, is at a news station, we kind of have to make that decision on if something might be too graphic for our viewers or not. And so you guys released the body camera almost immediately after the situation. And, you know, at our station, we were kind of going back and forth. Do we show this to our viewers in its entirety? Or is it too graphic? Or the other argument is it shows what your job does. What would you, I guess, do? Would you want us to show the entire thing? What do you want viewers to
If we didn't want it out, we would not have released it. I realize it was graphic, but I wanted to make an impact. We needed it to make the impact that it made. And that was our goal in releasing that footage, because I still believe in this country the good outweighs the bad. And the good-hearted folks that see a video like that, if they have any information, that right there will get them to speak up.
Chief, we don't normally get to talk to you guys from the position of like emotions, that you guys are just out there doing your job, but it has an impact on you every day. Can you talk a little bit about how you're feeling, how your officers are feeling after everything's going down? I mean, we just want to hear what it's like to sit in.
I can tell you that my emotions haven't changed from my 6 a.m. press conference outside of Halifax Hospital when I told you guys that I was heartbroken in reference to what took place. I'm still heartbroken. I'm hopeful, and I'm keeping the faith that he's going to pull through. But this was a senseless tragedy, and you guys are already talking about what's been posted on social media, so you can tell by what's been posted on social media that this guy's heartless. I mean, his heart is pure malice. He could care less. He did that with zero remorse. Zero remorse. You can tell. So, I mean, again, it's just completely senseless. We work real hard in this city to try to change the narrative from what you see in other areas of the country. And I've been talking to all my officers all day long just to make sure that they understand that we're not going to let this one incident change how we serve our community. We're not going to allow it to do it. We're not going to let evil win. We're going to continue to serve our community. If they need us, we will be there. And I've been preaching that in briefings as I go around and talk to the different officers in briefing, because they're extremely upset. They're extremely frustrated. But I have to remind them that even though we had this one coward try to kill our cop in the parking lot, there were other folks in that same apartment complex that came down and rendered aid. So we can't paint everybody with the same brush. And we don't want to be painted with that same brush in law enforcement. We may have a bad apple sneak in every once in a while, and we do our best to weed them out, because the overwhelming majority of us in law enforcement in this country are good people. We all want the same thing. And we're working hard to bridge that gap, because we're all of the same race, the human race.
I took a walk around the apartment today where everything happened, spoke to some people, and they kind of spoke about a very limited police appearance in that area. Tell me about that area. What do you know about that area, the activity that goes on there, and why the proactive patrol was going on at the time?
Well, we do have some issues in that area, and we're working hard, not just on the law enforcement side, but the code side, to address the issues of crime that occur in that area. And that's why the officer was out there. That's why he was doing what he was doing, because he was doing his job. He was out there to try to address the issues that are occurring in that area. So if the folks feel like they don't see us enough, then that's something we can work on as we move forward. But the officer this morning was solely out there doing his job, because that was his area of responsibility.
Chief, you said everyone in the state of Florida should be aware of what the suspect looks like. How about outside of the state? What is your communication like with law enforcement outside of Florida in this investigation?
We're pumping it out, nationwide. So yes, I mentioned just the state, but yeah, his picture should be seen, across the country right now. And I believe it is, because I've had chiefs of police and classmates from some various leadership classes that I've attended in other states that have reached out to me, and they have all of his information. So.
Chief, was he pinged in vehicle pinged in Stockbridge, Georgia? Can you confirm that?
I will not confirm that. Will not confirm it.
Can you say if he has family in other states?
I'm sure he has family in other states.
Chief, without getting into leads, going back to the social media, it seems that he has ties to a extremist militia group. Are you guys concerned at all that he has associates also that?
I'm going to keep that as confidential law enforcement information at this time, and just make sure that all of my officers and boots on the ground, if there is validity to that, I'm going to make sure they have that information for officer safety. And again, once he is in custody, I may be able to discuss things further, but right now I'm going to stay away from that.
Chief, a few particulars on timestamps. Do we know when he last spoke over the radio and when you all were actually able to get there? What's that time frame?
I don't have that right now. I don't have that in front of me.
At this point, do we know if the vehicle was stolen?
I don't know.
Chief, I know you said his status hasn't changed. Can you tell us exactly what is the officer's status at this point in time, as far as you know?
I really don't want to confirm that. I want to respect the family on that, and just ask that all of you that believe in the power of prayer, just do that. Just keep him lifted up in prayer.
Chief, if you look at the emergency operations calls line, are you seeing a lot of community members calling?
Yes. Yep. We do have a huge uptick in calls, and I appreciate those calls. So we do have those in the through the information and pass it on to our investigators.
Chief, can you tell us a little bit about the officer, who he was, what he was like?
Who he is, now who he was. I said it this morning. This is a cop. He's 26 years old. He has a heart of gold. He's not perfect, just as none of us are perfect. But I can tell you, if he pulls through this cop will do everything in his power to return to full duty, and he will continue serving this community without an ounce of malice or hate in his heart for what happened to him. Because that's just the type of person that he is.
In the press conference this morning, you talked a little bit about maybe doing 2-officer patrol. Where are you on that decision?
We're looking at that. I got a lot of people between me and the boots on the grounds. I got sergeants, lieutenants, captains, my deputy chief, so I'm letting them coordinate that. But whatever they need to do to ensure their safety, it's authorized.
Chief, you keep talking about boots on the ground. Last night, I saw your press conference this morning. You talked about 500 officers from different agencies coming to help you guys. That was pretty fast. Can you maybe tell us how that coordination went to get these agencies to come to help you in this case?
Well, we do what's called a mutual aid request, and we usually run that through the sheriff's office. So once I notified Sheriff Chitwood, you know, he can put the word out to the Florida Sheriff's Association, and that's pretty much all it takes. But what usually once they hear things on the radio, word spreads fast, and they don't wait for direction. They just all come. That's what we do. It's a family. It's a brotherhood. When one of us go down, it doesn't matter what the uniform is. It doesn't matter what the patch is. Everybody's coming. So we literally had cops over here. I saw a cop on 92 out by 95 from Lake Mary. I saw an MRAP roll in from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. SWAT teams. We had 3 different helicopters. So it was heartwarming just to see that response.
Going off of that, how many law enforcement officers were still actively searching? You said 500 last night. Is it still equal to that?
We have officers as far as Tampa that came in, and they're just like, Chief, we're here. If you need us, we're here. We have, you know, they're upstairs, and they're at our disposal. So I can't give you a specific number, but we have plenty of resources, and we're grateful for all of them. So I'll take a couple more questions, and then I need to get back to the hospital.
I don't want to gloss over what you said. I believe you said that people from the apartment complex came down and rendered aid
Yes.
to the officer.
Yes.
What does that tell you about the community and their relationship with law enforcement stepping in?
It confirms why I chose to serve as chief in this community, because I honestly probably, if I felt like it was going to be an uphill battle every day, and it was just going to be an us versus them mentality, I got to be honest with you, I don't know if I would have signed up for this, but I know the fabric of this community, and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to serve in this capacity because I know that the good outweighs the bad in this community, and I just have to make sure that my cops know that the good outweighs the bad in this community so that they don't get frustrated and discouraged, and we can continue to do what we do, because I believe we can stand up something in this city that is a national model for other areas of the country as to how we engage and work with our community.
Chief, if you even want to address this individual, what do you want to say to him?
I don't want to address this individual. Not on camera. But when we get him in custody, I'll address him there.
You said yesterday about technology pinging in Daytona. Was that the car? Was that the phone? Just for specifics?
Not going to confirm.
Copy.
One more question, if anyone has it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate the support as always. Say you got it whenever you need it.
Some notes on the guy. I'm sure y'all will want it.
That was one of the few press conferences that the Volusia County Sheriff's and Daytona Beach Police Department provided during the course of this. There was a couple times that the sheriff was interviewed out in the field or the police chief, either one, and they both were like, I'm busy, I have things to do. They were not interested in talking to the media. They understood there was a lot of media attention to this case, and all they care about was finding this guy. There was a lot of resources brought in. It was a manhunt in every sense of the word.
Now at 10, not slowing down. Tonight, Othal Wallace remains on the run, wanted for shooting a Daytona Beach police officer in the head. A reward for information leading to his arrest has now grown to $200,000.
And new tonight, the FBI has just released a nationwide bulletin about Wallace. Agents say he has ties to Miami, Atlanta, and Toomsboro, Georgia, and also Maryland.
I have over 500 officers that have responded into the area. This entire county is on lockdown until we track this coward down. So I'm grateful for every agency that's responded over here tonight to help us, because they're committed to staying out here until we get this coward in custody. I really don't have much more for you at this point in time, because right now I need to get back to the hospital. I want to thank the sheriff's office and every agency that's here tonight that's helping us in this manhunt.
As you may or may not know, when law enforcement is searching for something, whether it be a missing person, a fugitive, or a lost puppy, there is a whole group of people online who jump behind their keyboards and start searching as well. Yeah, I kind of do that too. Don't tell anybody. But they found some stuff on Mr. Othal Wallace. Now, many people say his name Othal, but I did my research and people close to him say it's Othal. So I'm going to go with Othal because that's what his side says. And what started coming out in the next few days was pictures of Mr. Othal Wallace in militia gear. And he is supposedly a member of NFAC, which is the Not Effing Around Coalition. There was an article on heavy.com that really broke it all down and said that according to his Facebook, he's a member of the NFAC and he goes by the name of Ozone, O-Z-O-N-E Wallace. And they cited his criminal history and listed some of the things he's done, which included marching with the NFAC militia in Louisville, Tulsa, and elsewhere, and that he had recently joined the new Black Panther Party. They say police said a search of his apartment, which was in Daytona, he had obviously fled Daytona by this point, found bulletproof vests, high-capacity magazines, a rifle, a handgun, boxes of ammo. And there's several pictures of him marching in his gear that was found around the internet.
He's a great father. He's a great guy in the community. I mean, this has never happened before.
Brandon Oliver says he is one of Wallace's good friends. He believes there is more to this story, and he's demanding to know what led to police approaching Wallace on Wednesday.
They want him dead, but nobody wants to hear his story. Everybody thinks he's a bad guy. You know, he's a criminal and this and that. Nobody knows. They just know he shot a police officer and he's wrong. But you got to look at the first picture. Why was the police officer even bothering him from the first place?
And then we started to see support for Othal. As you saw there, one of his friends went on national media. From what I could see, this was the only person who went on real mainstream media to say anything. The rest was all personal and specialized YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, social media pages where they were putting out their support. There was a website created called Othal.com and the hashtag free ozone would start trending later on after his arrest. At some point after he was arrested, a GoFundMe was set up to free him, which I believe should have been canceled because you are not allowed to create a GoFundMe that is to support any type of legal action or anything that's related to any criminal activity. But there was a lot of chatter on the other side, a lot of it talking about why did the officer approach him. Now, the reason I'm not showing you all of those clips is because I am not familiar with those sites specifically. I don't know how to vet them, so to speak, like I do mainstream media. I know which media outlets are legit and which ones aren't. With all of the sites that are talking about Othal, I don't know which ones is just some guy sitting in his living room that has 5 followers and which one has, you know, a significant support and is a significant organization. So I don't feel comfortable making that determination. If there's somebody who has more experience and knowledge on that side of things that wants to send me some links, I would be happy to show them. But personally, I'm not really sure. I figured that his side of things will come out in court and you'll be able to see that side of it there. And they do cover some of it in the media. There are statements from the NFAC organization.
Well, a multi-state search for the man suspected of shooting and critically wounding a Florida police officer ended in DeKalb County early this morning.
It took almost a week before he was captured in DeKalb County, Georgia, which is not far outside of Atlanta. He was on the property of the NFAC, reportedly, and he was hiding in a treehouse. Box forts, tree houses, creative.
The 56-hour manhunt came to an end very early this morning when federal, state, and local law enforcement came down this road here behind me, about 5 or 6 miles northeast of Lithonia. They then drove onto this piece of property right here and tell me they found the man they were looking for hiding out inside of a treehouse. The 56-hour manhunt came to an end very early this morning when federal, state, and local law enforcement came down this road here behind me, about 5 or 6 miles northeast of Lithonia. They then drove onto this piece of property right here and tell me they found the man they were looking for hiding out inside of a treehouse. Police later confirmed Wallace may be heading to Atlanta. This morning, GSP, FBI, and U.S. Marshals found Wallace on this property inside this treehouse and arrested him using Officer Raynor's handcuffs.
As you can see, DeKalb County is just to the east of Fulton County. Fulton would encompass Atlanta.
Out of Fulton County, sir. Always stay out of Fulton County unless you're for court or to see your lawyer.
One thing to note about DeKalb County is the small little city, well, it's not really that small, called Stone Mountain. And just a quick story for you because it's my channel and I can. So growing up, I had a relative that lived in Stone Mountain, and we would always go to visit. And in Stone Mountain, there is a mountain called Stone Mountain. Imagine that. And there's actually a carving on the side of the mountain. And come to find out as an adult, it's a Confederate carving, and it's now stirred up a ton of controversy, and they'll probably get rid of it and all this. But as a child, it was this park, and you would walk up to the mountain, and at night they would have a fireworks show, and it was this big attraction. And we always would pass through during the day, visit and leave, or we would stay in a hotel and have to leave super early the next morning to continue on to, you know, Indiana or North Carolina or whatever our destination was. And they would always promise me, next time we'll go to the mountain. Next time we'll go to the mountain. And I never got to go to the mountain. And I always wanted to go to the mountain to see the fireworks and to see that carving up close. I never even knew what it was as a child. I was fascinated by it. And so looking back and looking at it now and seeing what it was and how much controversy it has caused and the fact that it will probably be taken down, it's kind of interesting to compare the childhood perspective of this massive thing to your adult perspective of it. But that is something that is very famous in the area, and was a park and an attraction that may no longer be at some point. Anyways, so not long after Othal was captured in DeKalb County, not Stone Mountain, in a treehouse. In a treehouse. Daytona Beach police gave a press conference.
So good morning. My name is Jakari Young, Chief of Police, Daytona Beach Police Department. At approximately 2:30 this morning, a search warrant was executed on a property that was located just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm thrilled to announce that this search warrant has resulted in the arrest of Othal Wallace. Involved in this search warrant was the United States Marshals Service, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Homeland Security Investigations, the Georgia State Patrol, who are the ones that executed this search warrant, and the DeKalb County Police Department. The property was located in the woods, in a wooded area with 2 structures on it, along with a trailer and a treehouse. The rest of the 3 acres is covered in woods. The property is affiliated with an organization called they call themselves the Not Effin' Around Coalition, or just simply known as the NFAC, which is a black nationalist paramilitary organization. Othal Wallace was located hiding in a treehouse. In the treehouse with Wallace was multiple flashbangs, rifle plates, body armor, 2 rifles, 2 handguns, and several boxes of ammunition. A large arsenal of weapons was also located in the main residence. 4 additional people were located on this property. The Daytona Beach Police Department has a member assigned to the U.S. Marshals Task Force. That member, along with 3 other Daytona Beach police officers, were on scene with the above agencies and put Officer Raynor's handcuffs on Wallace. This investigation is ongoing, and I want to thank the folks that are standing up here behind me who have worked tirelessly over the past 56 hours since this incident occurred. Many of these folks haven't slept, at best maybe 2 hours, since this whole nightmare unfolded. Some of them haven't slept at all. I want to thank the entire Daytona Beach Police Department for how they all rallied around each other and came together to support and uplift not only themselves, but the family of Officer Jason Raynor. I'm extremely proud of this organization for their response to this horrific event. I also want to thank the Volusia Sheriff's Office because they were with us pretty much immediately from the time this incident occurred. They were locked in step with us. The sheriff sent out the mutual aid requests, and we had agencies from all over Central Florida that responded into the area and took part in this manhunt, and I'm extremely grateful to all of them. I also want to thank, I can't thank them all, but just the community, not just the community, people from all over the country that have flooded this department with nothing but support, offering their resources, and again, I just can't thank them enough. I also want to give a brief update on Officer Raynor and his condition. As of yesterday, there were very positive signs of improvement. He still has a ways to go, but basically from his condition right now, they feel comfortable moving forward with more testing because they've determined that he's now strong enough to endure more testing. So as of right now, his outlook is improving. It's a positive one, but we're just going to continue to pray that he continues to heal. And I have the permission of his mother and his sister to let everybody know that, you know, they greatly appreciate the support that they've received, and they request that we just continue to keep Officer Raynor in our prayers. And again, like I stated, the majority of these folks, to include myself, haven't received much sleep, so I'm not going to go much further into this. But again, most importantly, he is in custody, and at some point he will be making his way back to Daytona Beach. So with that in mind, I will take a few questions because, like I said, these folks haven't slept much, so I'm sure they're ready to finally decompress. I think everybody right now is just experiencing the fatigue that sets in after a huge adrenaline dump, because that's what it's been for the past 56 hours.
Did Wallace say anything when he was arrested?
Yeah, he actually did make a statement. What he said was, "You guys know who I am, you know what I'm capable of, and it could have been a lot worse." That was his statement.
Can you give us any more details about what led up to the arrest? How was it maintained peaceful if he was so heavily armed?
I think the timing of it played a lot to do with how it ended. Again, just the surveillance and the technology that was used was phenomenal. That ultimately led up to his arrest.
So did you receive any tips at all?
We were flooded. We were flooded with tips around the clock. They didn't stop. We had all kinds of tips coming in, but it was based on the surveillance and the technology that we were able to utilize in the complete total team effort of law enforcement all over this state and the federal level that led us to that treehouse just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, where he was taken into custody.
What other charges could those other 4 people be facing?
I don't know. That would be a question for the authorities up on that end. But obviously we know Wallace is facing attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer.
Were the other 4 people with him members of the militia? Or?
I don't have that information. Will
Wallace be booked into DeKalb County facilities and then extradited down here?
I believe so. Yes.
What's been your biggest challenge over the last 56 hours?
Probably the biggest challenge is just keeping everybody emotionally intact, because officer safety is just critical. And, biggest challenge for me is just making sure that, all of our officers and everybody involved in this investigation just remain vigilant and just kept themselves safe, because we deal with a lot. And at some point, everybody has to go home to their family, and our families worry about us just like anybody's family members would. But for them to just consistently stay at it and stay out here in these uncertain conditions, not knowing exactly where he was and who was working with them, but they never gave up. They stayed in the fight. And again, I'm just extremely proud of all of them. The investigation as a whole was extremely challenging, but for me as the chief, just worrying about, them not just physically, but mentally, and just wanting everybody to be safe while we were out here hunting.
Was the weapon used in the shooting of Officer Raynor recovered?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't have that information just yet as far as if we've recovered that weapon.
Do you know any reaction from Officer Raynor's family at this point?
Well, I woke them up to tell them the news, so as you can imagine, there was a huge sigh of relief, and I'm hoping they can get a few hours of sleep now finally, and now they can just solely focus on Officer Raynor and his recovery. But obviously I wanted to make sure that they were notified before we sent anything out that he was in custody.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
And the news stations stayed on the story, especially News 6, who did an in-depth look at Othal's connection to the extremist groups.
And you heard earlier the Daytona Beach police chief echoed the governor's words, saying that the property in Georgia where Wallace was found was affiliated with the group NFAC. And we've learned the organization's leader is accused of threatening extreme violence against police. where Othal Wallace was found, and in the main house. The core principles of the NFAC include arming members and protesting racial inequities and police brutality, according to the founder of the militia group, an Atlanta man known as Grandmaster Jay. But according to this federal complaint, Grandmaster Jay was arrested in December, accused of assaulting officers in Louisville by pointing a rifle at them. And investigators say they discovered videos of Jay inciting violence against Minneapolis police, saying, quote, "The only way to stop police violence is to identify and locate the homes of police, burn the houses to the ground, kill the officer, their family members, and associates," end of quote. Armed NFAC members were seen among protesters in the streets after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis last year.
And this morning, the NFAC told us it does not own any property. In a statement to News 6, the NFAC writes, quote, "Our inquiry into this has revealed that this property is owned by another ex-NFAC member who allowed the local NFAC chapter to train there months ago. We have zero knowledge of the current use by the owner. They are not NFAC members, nor is this property affiliated with this organization." Then they went on to say, quote, "We have communicated to several media outlets that Mr. Wallace is a current member of the new Black Panther Party and not a member of the NFAC."
Since he was arrested in DeKalb County, Georgia, and his charges were in Volusia County, Florida, he had to be extradited. And we haven't covered extradition a lot on here, but you have two choices in extradition. You can either waive extradition and they just take you, or you can fight it. And to fight it, you generally have to have some kind of basis for fighting it. Some people fight it just to prolong the process, to give themselves more time if they know they're going somewhere that they really don't want to go. A lot of people just waive it because you're going to be in jail regardless, so just get it over with. Surprisingly, Othal waived his extradition, and we saw the hearing in front of a judge that you may have seen before. I don't believe that I have ever shown him, but if you ever watch Credence and Mikey, he is one of their favorites. This is the DeKalb County, I think he might be a magistrate, but if not, I'm not positive. Sorry, I don't even know his name. I just recognize him.
Othal Wallace. Mr. Wallace, I have a somewhat lengthy speech to read to you that we read in all fugitive cases. I will tell you that you are here for 21W009833. You are charged with fugitive from justice in that you are allegedly wanted for the charge of attempted murder of a law enforcement officer in the state of Florida, and that the state of Florida has advised that that warrant is valid and that they are willing to extradite you. With respect to today's calendar, this hearing is being conducted pursuant to OCGA Title 17, Chapter 13. You've heard that it is alleged that you were charged with this crime in the state of Florida, and you have a choice of whether to contest extradition or waive extradition to be returned to Florida without going through that formal process. If you decide to contest extradition, the court can hold you in the county jail for an initial 30-day period to prepare a warrant under the governor's signature. The court typically does not allow people to post bonds for these charges, but it is within a judge's discretion. During that time, you may file a writ of habeas corpus to contest certain specific things. 1, whether the documents are in order on their face. 2, whether you are charged with a crime in the state of Florida. 3, whether you are in fact the person named in the request. And 4, whether you are a fugitive. Any issues of guilt or innocence must be addressed in the state of Florida and cannot be contested here. You are entitled to the advice of counsel in making this decision. If you can't afford counsel, then we would appoint a public defender to represent you free of charge. If the state is unable to extradite you within 30 days, you may be held for an additional 60 days awaiting extradition. Now, Mr. Wallace, I do have a question for you, and you have a choice between 3 options here. Do you wish to waive the formal extradition process? Do you wish to contest your extradition? Or would you like to consult with a public defender?
I believe I just signed a paper waiver of extradition.
Okay, and is that what you want to do?
So that I could proceed to go back to the state of Florida.
All right. Yes, that would expedite your return to Florida because you would not have to go through that process. And that was your choice today, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you said you've already signed, Mr. Wallace?
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. And I have signed and saved as well.
And there was so much outcry from people supporting Othal, saying that he was acting in self-defense and concerned about his safety now that he was back in police custody. One thing to note, if you didn't catch it, the police used Officer Raynor's handcuffs when they captured him. Kind of symbolic. So I believe it was the Volusia County Sheriff released a video of him being transported back to Volusia County of the extradition process, just to show that he made it here in one piece and that nothing was happening, nothing was wrong, everything was by the book.
This is like React Bandit. It's like a taser. All right. If you do anything stupid along the way, act out, anything hostile, I'll give you a warning beep. Then you kind of say, hey, what's going on? If you don't comply with my message or my warnings, I will hold it down and you'll get 50,000 volts of electricity for 8 to 10 seconds. All right, you understand? All right. Watch your head. It's in the middle there.
We got a spider right over there. We're behind me.
The incident itself occurred on June 23rd of 2021. On August 18th, the news that everyone had been dreading came.
All units, stand by for a moment of silence in honor of Daytona Beach Police Officer Jason Raynor. It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of Daytona Beach Police Officer Jason Raynor, 3 Charlie 77, ID number Delta 80953. This afternoon, on August 17, 2021, Officer Jason Raynor succumbed to his in the line of duty injuries that he sustained on June 23, 2021. Please lift Jason, his family, his law enforcement brothers and sisters, and the entire Daytona Beach community in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. Blessed are the peacemakers. Central clear.